Okay, it's been a while since my first video, but with version 1.55 upwards, and what you're about to see now being a preview of version 1.56, which will be coming out shortly, you now have two modes of operation. So people who are using traditional spectrums with div-MMC or div-IDE interfaces or clones with a div-IDE or div-MMC interface built in, everything is golden, works the same as before, a couple of minor enhancements, but the biggest change is really aimed at those who are developing for the Spectrum Next, um, and also those who are using the CSpect emulator as part of that process. So what you'll see now is we have a new menu up here called Platform, and you'll see at the top I've got the current version of EsxDOS Explorer. We also see the current version of EsxDOS that is installed in EsxDOS Explorer's repository is version 0.8.9. Now, if I go to the platform menu, you'll see at the moment we've got checked Spectrum EsxDOS, but we've also got an option under here, Spectrum Next, which is NextZXOS. So I'm going to select that now, and instantly you'll see now I've changed to my second view. Basically, at the top, we see that I had previously downloaded NextZXOS version 24.11, which is part of the repository now and was downloaded straight from the Spectrum Next team's official website. I had actually downloaded the recommended image file for emulators, and as part of the process, it downloaded the image file from the site. It extracted all of the files from that image and added those along with the ROMs to the repository. So that said, that means that under the menus that we have here, which you'll see changed a little bit, we have a CSpect menu, and under this, we've got the option to install the NextZXOS ROMs. The first time that you run this, you will be asked to point to the location of your executable for CSpect. It will then remember that location going forward, and it will use that when you select options under this menu. So this option, install the NextZXOS ROMs, will take the ROMs that were inside the archive downloaded from the Spectrum Next website and copy those into your CSpect folder. You can also use this function here to create a shortcut to whichever drive you have got mounted or the last drive that you had mounted if you're telling it to remember the last drive mounted. So at the moment you can see this here is a volume that I created, and I literally just called it NextZXOS 24.11. If I go under the virtual drive menu, which previously this was called HDF menu, but that seems a little bit redundant now as we're dealing with more than HDF files, multiple formats in fact. So anywhere you will have seen HDF drive should now say virtual drive. So if I go to properties now under the virtual drive, this will show volume name, it will show that it's a 16 gig drive format FAT32, and it will show the creation date. It shows the version of NextZXDOS installed, and it was created with EsxDOS Explorer. So we physically use EsxDOS Explorer, which is sitting on top of the HDF monkey underscore JJJ build, which gives us much better compatibility over earlier versions. And we basically created the volume, and then we were able to simply go onto our virtual drive and have to do a create, which you can see here. This is our creation dialog, so this will be just the same as if we were creating it for a Spectrum with div-MMC or div-IDE. But in this case, this would be referring to a drive that we were going to create for CSpect. So in keeping with the original file naming convention, when I created this, I used the IMG file type. So here you can select what type of file that you want to save as, and then name it. And then Having created the volume, which is what we see here, the next step that I did on the virtual drive was to install EsxDOS. So because this had already been downloaded and extracted, it was able to install that straight away. We've got options yet, which I still need to test under the EsxDOS installation, but these should work the same as for the others. So you can create basically backups of your currently loaded drive. You can reformat the drive, and you can restore the drive as well from the backup. So the install will perform the install, and then from CSpect, you can then tell it to create a shortcut to this drive, and then when you click launch CSpect Spectrum Next, it will then launch CSpect with that drive. So one nice advantage in this approach is if you have a main daily driver that you use for CSpect, but then you're working on something experimental, maybe working on a different EsxDOS build and you want a different format drive setup, you can actually go ahead and you could have that drive already set up. You can install things on there. You just go File, Open, Virtual Drive. To open the drive you wanted to test, copy the files onto it you wanted to test, and then literally just go to there and then launch CSpect Spectrum Next, and it would then launch CSpect with that volume that you currently got open. Create CSpect Spectrum Next shortcut will create a shortcut directly to that drive also. So once you actually create a shortcut, you see here, if I go into here, it will tell me it's been created. When I do OK, it's actually going to open the main EsxDOS Explorer resources folder. And you'll see inside here, we have all of our shortcuts and other things, including the CSpect Spectrum Next shortcut that we just created. So we can rename that, copy it wherever we want, and it's pre-configured to use the drive that we had open. I'll go back to the next EsxDOS menu here. This is basically one of the first things you would do. You would technically go to here, and this would reach out to the official website, download the image, the latest image build for emulators, and that will basically, if I go back into the resources folder here, what that will do here, it will create a folder next to EsxDOS v24.11, and inside here you'll see this is the physical content of the archives, which is the original IMG file and the ROMs. These are the ROMs that get copied to CSpect, but it will also extract the content of this image into a folder called SD card files. So if you wanted to, you could actually take those files and copy them onto a physical SD card and put in a real Spectrum Next. Saves you having to extract it manually if you want to use it for doing that. So yeah, in a nutshell, that is where we are right now. I would highly recommend, if you haven't already, select Remember Last Opened Virtual Drive. First time around, if you've been using an earlier version, you will want to switch between platforms if you're using more than one, with that box checked, and make sure you have the drive open that you want for that platform. Once you've done that one time, you'll see now that I'm looking here in a particular folder that has got all of my files. Sorry, if I go to platform Spectrum here, this is my EsxDOS folder, and this is my EsxDOS drive. And if I switched to NextZXOS, I could actually point that to a different folder. So let's say I go down into here, and I go down into here, and I go into this location here, like this, and then into resources, and I'm just going to there, the SD card folder. So right now, this is our extracted SD files, and this is on the right hand side, we've got our next drive. So now if I switch back to EsxDOS, this is switched back to my EsxDOS folder, my EsxDOS drive, and when I switch back to the next EsxDOS mode, I'm switched back to the source code for, sorry, the source folder for the local operating system for that platform and the last mounted drive for that platform. So yeah, that's it in a nutshell. It's a bit of a whirlwind tour. The manual at this point is going to be a while before that gets updated. There are a few more little tweaks that had to come down the pipeline. So watch this space, so to speak. This current feature that I've just demonstrated, where it's syncing backwards and forwards between the different folder views and mounted drives, depending on platform, that is a feature that's new to version 1.56. So watch out for this soon. With everything else that you've seen, essentially should be in 1.55. So if you haven't got it already, give it a quarter looking at and let me know what you think. Okay, thanks. Bye for now.